I'm going to go through and show the Star Wars Power of the Force line from 1995, the first wave of figures, all from Star Wars A New Hope. And just keep in mind that when the movie first came out, those early original toys were released. This 1995 set is the second ever set of figures in this size and scale, the old 3.75 inch figures. And so for my generation, kind of watching Star Wars on videotape instead of in the theater, this became kind of our toy line to collect and start getting Star Wars toys. So I just want to show this set, show that it's still a pretty good figure set I collect and display today. Probably the crown jewel of the set here for me still is C-3PO, because they actually did the vac metallicized, or that vac metal appearance with the shiny gold. Kind of argue this is still one of the best C-3PO figures for this scale. That's exclusively his feature, as it states on the packaging. They have a little, well, it's not little, it's a giant biography on the back actually for the card, info about the character. Much like the old Star Wars figures, the packaging pretty iconic. This is a pretty important appearance, you know, nostalgic for me and my generation for Star Wars figures, with the photo to the side here. And kind of the start of having the mascot at the top. Kind of see it in later Star Wars movies, like with Kylo Ren at the top, or the Death Troopers from Rogue One. But this is still a C-3PO I put in my collection, just because the appearance has got his kind of classic shine that's right out of the movies. He just has kind of the 5-point kind of articulation here, although he does have a extra at the waist turn. But the arms are just going up, there's no turning or anything there, and then the head is just turning. The C-3PO did kind of get loose over time, so he's a little hard to stand up sometimes because he wants to kind of get loose and slump. But even a little bit of colored wire detail in the midsection outside of just this great gold appearance. It's one still worth grabbing and putting with your other figures of the scale. Of course, with the vac, sometimes you do get little wear spots here, but this is the toy that I played with as a kid playing Star Wars, so still in decent condition, and I could always get a new one if you wanted. I'd say still relevant today for any collection of the scale because of that gold plating. Goodness gracious me. Despite the small size, R2-D2, great seller there. Not a lot of features, but kind of a gotta have it character. And again, you're getting a little bit of that vac on the head, domed head. And a huge bio on R2, mostly talking about the first movie there, Star Wars Episode 4. And so he has a turnable dome, and the legs are going to move around, and he has this little feature of the retractable leg, pegged feet as well, but here we can kind of stand him as the 3-leg, or that just pops right in and stays in if you want him in this kind of state, doing maybe a little wobble. And then to get the leg out, there's a little protrudence in the back here that lets you kind of pull it down easier since it's kind of stuck up inside. It does have a little bit of the wire detail at the front, and they're just kind of lines across, not really three-dimensional protruding out, but the detail is there. Other than that, a little loose and toyish, but again with that shiny metal at the top, makes it worthwhile. And he kind of has a window at the top where light can kind of come in and it comes out his eye a little bit. Kind of see it lighting up there. Not electronic, it's just letting the light in. Kind of a cool bonus there. He's got the clear blue at the top. Certainly been better R2 figures, but with more movie accurate detail. But I do like this one from the shiny kind of top that you don't get. You just don't do that effect very often for figures. A nice little R2. We gotta have Darth Vader, of course. Lightsaber and movable cape. Another huge bio on the back. And here in the packaging, the lightsaber he comes with kind of fades the red a little soon. But it was the first they were kind of doing this clear for the lightsaber effect. You know, the old ones just had solid color lightsabers. So this was kind of the start of that trend. It would fade over time though. We have the figure here with the removable cape that just kind of clips onto the back of the neck to get his full appearance with the cape. But he's just going to be a 5-point as well, with just the added 6-point with the waist, a little bit of head turn. A simplified kind of appearance in the body, but still a decent Vader, although it's just kind of static forward stance, nothing special. What I end up having to do with my lightsaber, since it was so faded, I kind of did a little red paint to kind of liven it back up. So it didn't typically look like this, because it really gets faded. That's kind of the big flaw of this particular Vader. But just a quick do-over with red paint really brightened up the red for him. So again, a figure like this, pretty good if you had like a TIE fighter or something, you could put him in there just because he'd probably sit down in there and you'd probably have a better Darth Vader figure just because kind of end up with a lot of Darth Vader figures if you get Star Wars stuff a lot. But that's the Vader of the line. 2 holding hands, but just the 1 lightsaber. It was interesting to be able to see Vader without the cape too, just kind of a strange visual as well. Got to have a stormtrooper. This is one of those I always wanted to buy, you know, several of and have the big army of stormtroopers. Here's also where you kind of get into, he's got his typical kind of E11 blaster that you always see the stormtroopers with, and he has like this big crazy rifle thing, kind of a strap you could put around. So usually those extra weapons I kind of discarded. They were just kind of extra if I needed them for another figure or something like that. A little more interesting in having them have their movie used weapons. Not kind of extra phony rifles and things, but an extra gun, you know, for play. This one's got a little bit of a strange paint app issue in the head. So he's got the waist and then the up and down arms and legs as well. 2 open hands. Again, I don't have the rifle handy, but the old standard Stormtrooper blaster. Of course, then the problem with these figures, when you pose them, they just kind of have to hold the gun out like this. Can't do the 2-handed holding. I guess what I haven't talked about yet is just kind of the broad shoulder nature of this set for the 90s, trying to make them look all buff and stuff. People always talk about that. I mean, I kind of think it's probably a little bit of response to the He-Man ad before, where the He-Man figures would make fun of the wimpy little Star Wars figures. Again, only the second attempt at depicting these characters. The original, you know, 70s and 80s figures, a little cartoony and simplified. These are getting a little more movie accurate, but they've kind of pumped them up just to keep the action figure nature of them interesting or cool or tougher looking or something like this. So he is one bulky stormtrooper, but it's always good to have extra stormtroopers for your Star Wars collection, wherever you want to stick them in the background. I missed. Princess Leia, as the general said in the Battle of Yavin there. Laser pistol and assault rifle. Yeah, and this is where they're just coming with a big crazy weapon there. But she has her long pistol from the beginning of the film. I know a lot of people make fun of the appearance of this one. She doesn't really look that bad. We'll get a closer look after we take a look at the bio there, if you'd like to read through that. Give it a pause. Crazy in 1995 using these kind of studio pictures from old 77 for the packaging. So she comes with a lot of accessories actually, because her outfit is slightly removable. So here's without. And let's take a look at the face. And I think it's just because it's not particularly feminine or something and people get upset or something. I'm not sure. It's not the worst appearance ever. It's not as thick or anything as people usually make it out to be. There's other releases where they've just kind of feminized the face more and not particularly made it more accurate to the movie or anything like that. So I never had too much of an issue with it other than, again, simple movement. And then once you add the clothing pieces, like this kind of skirt part with the silver belt on here and then her cape, that's going to limit what you can really do with her. It looks cool with all the clothes, but it's a little bulky and crazy. And her hands are open a little too much to be holding those weapons. I don't have the assault rifle, but we got her little long pistol there. But again, you can just only make them hold it out ahead of them a little strangely. But that is her weapon at the beginning of the film. Of course, we got the hair buns as well. A little silver on the belt. Not the best Leia, not the worst though. But I have gotten better versions since this one. Han Solo. Once again, coming with like a bigger rifle, just as kind of an extra, but he's got his old DL-44, you know, the classic pistol he would always use in the movie. That's going to be the main accessory for him. Studio shot there, and then a big old biography on the back of the card. I mean, they had dotted lines, you were supposed to cut these out and kind of keep them too, you know. I mean, back then you couldn't just always search StarWars.com and things, you know, with your crappy dial-up internet. So you had a little info there on the characters if you wanted. And of course here he's showing that those rifles had a strap you could kind of throw over the shoulder to keep ready. Kind of got a little bit of a karate chop action here. I like that they have all his belt stuff here. It's not a functional holster. That was before they really got into doing that a lot. Stripe down the middle, vest, and an okay face. For the time, of course. Again, wider shoulder there, little hulky, but the old blaster. Pretty big, but still that shape for him. Got a little bit of the pose there of him doing his little shooting from underneath the Falcon at the Stormtrooper. Nice tall boots. A decent, if not bulky, buff and tough Han Solo. The mighty Chewbacca with a huge rifle, but he does have his bowcaster. Big old bio on the back. Co-pilot of the Millennium Falcon. Now old Chewie here, the head shape here is very strange actually. We'll say it's not the best in that capacity, but a lot of hairy texture and everything, and still got that waist movement, but pretty much putting it back at 5 points because the head's not going to move because of this draped down appearance here. Roarf. Ooh, but I actually have the rifle of this guy still. Again, there's the strap that you can carry that on his back if you need some serious firepower here. Whoa. Chewbacca means business. And the bowcaster, not super accurate to the movie or anything, but it's got the shape. That is functional. That's going to lock into the hand pretty good, just with that shape there. But again, you can't hold it with the 2 hands just because of the simpler articulation. But it gets the point across with the bowcast weapon. He's going all artillery, all offense here. Old Ben Kenobi, or Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're kind of weird, we got the hood up picture there, but this is just a without hood figure. With his lightsaber, he's got a bio there, kind of mentioning the duel with Darth Vader, leaving him broken and in need of repair. And he had his removable, so here's just the figure without the cloak on, kind of more him hanging out, maybe more at the little Tatooine house, although without kind of cloaked here, just kind of has pants, strangely. Not sure if the green is what the plastic is underneath, or if mine's gotten marked in some way. We have the cloak that's like this kind of piece, just kind of drapes over the top, give him his appearance this way. And his clear lightsaber, but you can only kind of hold it one-handed, so a little strange, but simpler times, I suppose. It beats the retractable for me. I don't think I would have liked that feature as a kid, having the lightsaber retracting from the arm. Was never a fan of that sort of thing. But old Obi-Wan Kenobi there. Now the one I never really had as a kid was the Luke with his kind of white appearance here, and we have him holding the Stormtrooper gun, but he does not come with one. He comes with this weird grappling hook thing. Here's one that really stands out with the buff look there with the wide shoulder and then kind of his shirtlessness underneath coming out. Just like, what's the message here? That he's Hulk Luke, you know? It's kind of weird. So this is one I always kind of just never got as a kid because I just kind of moved on to maybe the pilot costume or just straight up the Jedi Master Luke, possibly the Bespin appearance as well. Because back then I didn't have to wait around for the next movie. We just had all the tapes, so I saw them fairly closely back to back, within days or weeks. I'd already seen the 3 films in a row, so didn't ever feel the need to get a hold of this Luke before. Great 70s hair though. A little funky face, but there's a touch of Mark Hamill there. Just a touch. I just wanted to show the first kind of set of these because I had good examples to show for you. And again, this was the first kind of re-releasing, new appearances for them since the first releases back in 70s and 80s. For my 90s generation here, this was the first Star Wars set for me. I never got to get a hold of any of those old figures because everybody was snatching those up, and they still are. I like to show a lot of my old collectibles and action figures and things here like this, and I open all my new Star Wars collectibles that I get now, such as the vintage collection and things like that. This is always my favorite scale because you could still get maybe some spaceships and fit the figures in there. That was kind of the point of the smaller size Star Wars figures. If you like Star Wars or if you just like old 90s collectibles, either way you'll probably want to stick around. Give a like if you like seeing this set of the 1995 Star Wars figures. Hopefully I'll get to see you in the next video, whichever one you choose it to be. Shut down all the garbage disposals in the detention level!